In Okinawa, something just happened that really exposed a raw nerve in the community. It's this deep conflict between, on one hand, decades of anti-military activism, and on the other, just basic respect for individual service members. We're going to dive into where that line is between protest and discrimination.
So what kicked off this whole firestorm? Well, it all started in a place you might not expect. Not at a protest, not on a military base, but at a cultural festival. You know, an event that's supposed to be all about community and tradition. The flashpoint was the annual All-Island Eisa Festival. This is a huge cultural deal in Okinawa. A dance team from the Ground Self-Defense Force's 15th Brigade was scheduled to perform. Well, several civic groups immediately protested, saying the SDF's presence was unacceptable. But the festival organizers, they held their ground. They basically said, look, politics has no place in a cultural celebration.
But here's where it gets really interesting. The public reaction was totally different. Online, people were just slamming the protests, calling it what it was, occupational discrimination. And at the festival itself, the SDF dance team got warm applause from the crowd. The backlash was actually so strong that even Governor Denny Tamaki had to weigh in, suggesting the organizers should have explained their decision better to avoid, this kind of blowback. Now, this festival incident, it didn't just pop up out of nowhere. To really get why a dance performance could become such a huge deal, we've got to zoom out and look at the long and often pretty rocky history between Okinawa and Japan's self-defense forces. Yeah, this kind of friction has been going on for a while. For years, there have been documented cases of SDF members and their families just facing social exclusion. We're talking about being denied basic services, being shut out of community events, all because of this hostility from some activist groups. So you hear about these really loud protests, right? And it's easy to think that everyone in Okinawa feels this way. But when you actually look at the data, a much more complicated and frankly surprising picture starts to form.
Take a look at this number, 80%. That is a solid majority, and it's a really crucial piece of this whole story.
So it turns out, while the debate over military bases is incredibly fierce, that 80% figure, that's from recent surveys showing that most Okinawans support Japan's self-defense forces, especially for the crucial role they play in disaster response. And this just reveals this huge divide in public opinion. Being against the bases doesn't automatically mean you're hostile to the people serving in uniform.
Okay, so with all this public tension and history simmering, it was really only a matter of time before it spilled over into the political arena, forcing the Okinawa Prefectural Assembly to actually take an official stand. And they did. On October 8th, the Assembly passed a formal resolution. Now, this isn't a law, but it is a powerful public statement. It basically draws a line in the sand. It says, sure, you have the right to criticize defense policy, but that right does not extend to discriminating against SDF members or attacking their personal dignity. But of course, a vote like this was never going to be simple. It split right down political lines. You had the conservative ruling coalition, the LDP and Komeito, supporting it. And on the other side, opposing it, was the left-leaning All-Okinawa Coalition, the same group aligned with Governor Denny Tamaki. The opposition's main argument, voiced by people like Chofu Zukaran, was this. They were worried it would have a chilling effect. Their fear was that the public might see this as the government trying to shut down legitimate protests against the military.
But supporters, like LDP lawmaker Harutoshi Shinzato, saw it completely differently. For them, this wasn't about suppressing free speech at all. It was about protecting individuals from blatant discrimination based on their job. As he put it, the real problem was bringing politics into a cultural event like Eisa in the first place.
So, the resolution passed. The statement has officially been made. But what does it actually change for people on the ground in Okinawa?
Well, it's being called a small but meaningful gesture. It doesn't legally fix these deep-seated divisions overnight, but it is an official signal from the government, and it's aimed at trying to build some mutual respect. When you boil it all down, the resolution is drawing a very clear line. It's saying, look, protest the policy, not the person. It acknowledges that SDF members play a vital role in the community, and it says point blank that this kind of discrimination just undermines the very fabric of a mature society. And this is really the question we're left with, isn't it? This resolution is a landmark step, for sure. It acknowledges the problem. But in a place with a history as complex as Okinawa's, it raises a much bigger question. Can one political statement truly begin to heal one of the community's deepest, most painful wounds? Honestly, that's something only time will tell.